Can I just say something, and please don't get offended right off the bat? There's no way you're going to hire the best people. I want you to think about how asinine that is for a minute. We hear this all the time, that people are like, we want to hire the best and we're working on a program to hire the best people. You're not going to hire the best people. Let's just think about for a moment, statistically, how many people are the best people? 5%, 10% of the workforce? Even the Gallup study says only about 15% of people actually perform at a high level at work. So 100% of CEOs are all going after the top 5 or 10% of candidates. The reality is, if you want to get those folks, you need to pay what others are paying. Now, a company like Google, it's hard to say exactly what the starting salary is, but for an average software developer, a couple $100,000 a year is about right. For a really good one, you're going to go a lot higher than that. Are you willing to spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year for a college graduate that might not perform anything for the next couple of years? Are you willing to spend significantly more than that when someone advances through their career? Do you have that kind of money to make those kind of investments? If you don't, then you aren't getting the best people. The reality is, we all spend an inordinate amount of time trying to do psychological surveys and 15 different interviews, all sorts of things to hire the best people. And yet, time and time again, the churn rate remains the same. I hire somebody that I think is capable of doing the work. They do the work for 6 months. I fire them because I'm not satisfied with the result. I look at new psychological profiles. I go through the process of recruitment and all of these things, and I hire a new person into that role that I believe has higher potential, and their performance is the same. And 6 months later, I let that person go, and I repeat this cycle over and over and over. Can I ask you a question? Who makes money in that cycle? Is it you? Absolutely not. It costs you a fortune. So who benefits? Let's follow the money in this thing. Who benefits? Well, the psychological profiling companies benefit significantly from you doing that. Recruiters benefit significantly. Trainers maybe even benefit significantly from this. So the cycle is, we hire, we fire, we try to do better the next time, then we hire again, we fire, we try to do better the next time. And each time we go through this turnstile of paying for that to happen. It's not just a cost that we're paying to the consultant or the coach or the interview specialist or the psychological profiling organization. The real cost is internal to us. In that high rate of turnover, in that never really having experts working inside of our business that really know and care about the business. Now, if you've listened to much of what I've had to say in the last couple of months, much of my focus is around this idea that people only work for one of 3 reasons. They work for fear, they work for money, or they work because they want to. If they work for fear, it is a master-slave relationship. If they work just for the money, exclusively for the money, that's a mercenary or a prostitute. Think about it for a minute. The reality is, I want people that want to be there. If somebody leaves me for 50 cents or $1 an hour, did they really want to be there, or were they there because of fear or finance? Because they had to have the money to pay their bills. And when they got an opportunity to make an extra $40 a week, they left in a fraction of a second. Maybe they didn't even give their 2 weeks notice. I want you to think about the hiring trend in your organization. Just ponder about it a little bit. Look at this cycle of repetitiveness, of just going through, never being truly satisfied with the work that people do. But there is a better way. There's a much cheaper, more cost-efficient, effective, even efficient, and then resilient way and a pathway to solve these kind of problems in your organization. And that is to focus on the system, the work and how it is done, the process. look at the work and the steps of the work and identify where the challenges and problems are in that work that make people have a hard time doing the work, and then fix those things. Now, if you know me and if I came in here to meet with you and I'm limping and oh man, I'm in a lot of pain, and you say, what's wrong? I said, I've got a whole bunch of sharp glass and rocks in my shoes. Do you have any Tylenol? You'd think I was crazy, but yet your people walk around all day long in excruciating pain, trying to get work done, and they are unable to get the work done because they're always in pain. From a medical perspective, somebody dealing with pain, their IQ reduces from 10 to 40% based upon the severity of that pain and if it's recurring. Well, listen, most process problems in your organization are recurring problems. They happen all the time, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100% of the time. I don't get the paperwork, and that causes me to have to do this, and it makes me do this, and it makes me do this. And listen, would it be great if you could hire people that had a 40% higher IQ than your average employee does right now? Yeah, it'd be awesome. And it would cost you a fortune. Or you could just relieve their pain, eliminate their pain, and make them 40% smarter. Which of those two do you think is the cheapest? Which of those two has the best long-term results? Time and time again, I've worked in organizations where we've built a system and the work gets fun and easy to do and people want to be there. And when they get the offer for $1 an hour or $2 an hour or $5 an hour down the street from where they go, oh no, I'm not messing this up. I got a good thing going on here. And the few that do leave, almost always word gets back to us that they wish they hadn't. Why? Because they're a rock star inside of a system that makes them a rock star. And when they go back out to somebody else who hasn't resolved all this pain in the organization, they see what work really is like, what it can be. This is a huge difference with organizations. There are organizations out there that are focused on improving things for the people. And by improving things for the people, the customer relationships improve, the work gets done more quickly, vendors are treated more efficiently and effectively. And the reality is people aren't afraid. They're willing to stand up and say, listen, I've got a problem. I need help resolving this. The truth of the matter is most of our people are wandering around inside systems that we built, inside processes and departments that maybe we built them. Maybe they were just formed by evolution. My God, I hope that's not the case, because you can imagine the variation that occurs if you just allow process to form on its own. If you can't show me a process map of your process, if you can't explain it in bubbles and circles on a wall, you have no idea what you're doing. And the wild thing is this: every single week I go out and do workshops. I just came back from doing 2 of them. In both instances, as we start putting it on the wall, people that had worked there for 10, 15 years, as we start to put the bubbles and circles on the wall, somebody goes, wait, really? I didn't know we ate. You kidding me? I didn't know we did it that way. I do it this way. What do you mean you use that system? I use this system. We had one, just a wild one here recently here in Tempe, where we put the process map on the wall. And I said, everybody at the count of 3, yell out at the top of your lungs the name of our project management software. 3 different project management softwares were called out. And their problem, as they complained about, was internal communication. Well, now we know why. People can't communicate because the systems are disconnected. This is the type of work that I believe is so radically important, particularly right now when there's volatility in the market. The reality is the United States is declining. There's no doubt about it. If you look at every factor over the last 30, 40 years, the United States has been declining. Our education system has been declining. Our infrastructure has been declining. Our trade deficits are getting worse. The reality is the United States needs some help. And during World War II, we used a different way of managing people. We didn't focus on goals. We focused on executive management, communicating via a system called quality circles, sitting down weekly with employees, not talking about, we have to grow this thing by 10%. Simply put, explaining it this way. Look, how do we make it better next week? What's the one thing that we could do that would make it 1% better? What's the 2 things we could do? What resource could I provide you as an executive that you think would help make the work easier to do, make it better, and not just cover up your pain with a pizza party or 25 cents an hour or a Starbucks gift card, but actually resolving the root cause of your pain. Now, I'm going to tell you that root cause is difficult. It's difficult to obtain primarily because, as I mentioned, the degradation of things like the American education system. We have another challenge there, and that is that since about the 1930s, we've only really been training, and it got way worse under No Child Left Behind and a lot of the bad policies of the 90s and 2000s. But the truth of the matter is, school today is nothing more than training somebody to memorize some answers and then giving them a test and holding them accountable to the results of that test. Training and the enforcement of training. Accountability is a word that we use a lot inside of our organizations, which is really odd to me because accountability cannot really happen at the front line of an organization. Accountability is when executives have determined the root cause, designed and implemented best practices that resolve that root cause, thoroughly trained and heard feedback from the people doing the work about that, taken that feedback and fed it back into their best practice to improve that best practice through experimentation. And then finally, at the bottom, after you've done all of the work, you can hold people accountable to a standard that has been proven to be the right standard, the best practice, the root cause of the problem. And it has not just been resolved by executives, but it has used the intelligence, the heads, not the hands of the people doing the work. And it has incorporated that into it. And it has said, this is the best way to do this, to do it the most safely, with the highest quality and the highest efficiency. We need to hold you in compliance to that standard. But if you ever have an idea that you believe is superior to what we have, we also have a method of experimentation here, of statistical process control, where we can try your idea in an environment in which we can segment that out, quarantine that, run an experiment to see if your method is better than the approved best practice that has been agreed upon by the group. And if it is, and it is proven out to be better, a better experiment, a better way, then we will revise our best practice, retrain our people, and then we will enforce against that. But we don't do that. We just say things like, I just wish my people were more accountable. I wish they thought like owners. Let me tell you something, even with companies that we work with that have gone ESOP, and a lot of them are doing it right now, particularly in the construction industry, manufacturing industry, a lot of companies are on the trend of becoming ESOPs, employee-owned organizations. And all of the mantras, all of the marketing messaging, everything that they put up on their walls, all of it is about thinking like an owner, like you own it, we own it. I saw Jack give it, we own it across the back on all these technicians out in the field as they were going out to do their work. And I thought to myself, I wonder if they understand what that means, because I've said this. I wish my employees thought like owners. But let me tell you something. When you file the paperwork to become ESOP, to become employee owned, there is no magical fairy that shows up in the middle of the night. And these people don't magically become owners. Yes, they might retain some profit from the organization and are tied to the profitability, but do you really think they're thinking like an owner? No, because the system up to this point, Western education, train and enforce, think about your training in your organization. I train you and then I hold you accountable to that standard. We do not have in our brains tools to analyze and design solutions. We don't even know how to experiment, which is such a common thing in the 20s, 30s, and 40s in the United States. It's the reason that we started developing electronics. It's the reason of mass production. It's the reason we won World War II, because every organization actively experimented. They looked at the work that was being done and they said, this is the standard. And then every single day, they tried to find ways to experiment and to improve it. One of the things that you could do right now with your people, say to them something like, hey, look, we're soliciting ideas. I don't care. Maybe it's only looking for ideas under $1,000 that would improve productivity here. You might be shocked. I did it one time with a manufacturing company that I stepped in as the COO of. I watched all of the folks work and I watched their workspaces and they had all these cool tools and they had all these nice little things. And then I loaded everybody up. I said, everybody, come on, let's go. We're going to Harbor Freight. And I got a bunch of carts and I said, buy anything you want that will improve the productivity of the work being done. And they did. They bought about $3,000 worth of stuff. I ended up returning about 2,000 of it because they got it back into the environment. It didn't work the way they thought, all these kind of things. But boy, did they find stuff. Heck yeah, for $1,000, we probably saw an 8 or 10% improvement in the throughput of the entire facility because some of them were like, hey, wait, these gloves have magnets on the back. This would be great if I'm underneath something and I'm working on something and I need my screws instead of having them on a pan on the floor. One guy got sort of a bandolier that had all of his tools so that he was mobile. He could work through the facility and move on the fly without carrying a big toolbox and all of these type of equipment. Think about it. There are lots of tools out there and all of us have lots of software. Trust me, my God, the one thing we probably need less of is software. Probably the best investment you can ever make is Excel macros. Right? Find somebody that writes good Excel macros and fix some of the things that you have going on. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but the truth of the matter is this. You've spent so much time, so much money, so much effort. Well, what's the old saying? Prepare the kid for the road, don't prepare the road for the kid, or whatever it is. The opposite is true in business. I need to prepare the process for the people, not the people for the process. This is what we do all the time right now. We train people and we're like, well, yeah, it sucks. It's this, it's this, it's this. We gotta muddle through somehow. No. Fix your process and make it really, really easy to do. That's my lesson for right now. I think that's the key for me for 2025. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about growth. All we're going to do is grow. We need to grow 5%, 10%, 15% this year. Just knock it off. You can make way more money through the same focus on efficiency. Way more money. Double, triple your profits by focusing on efficiency. That's really the message that I'm talking about right now. I encourage you to like and subscribe. I encourage you to check out our website. Look at all the podcasts I've been on in the last couple of months, about 20 podcasts I've been a guest on here in the last, 4 or 5 months. I've got a new book coming out called The System that I'm working on right now. I'm planning on April 1st, but anybody that knows my timelines from the past knows that sometimes that can get drug out a little bit, but you can pre-order that. Those are signed copies that I'll sign and send out here once things get through production. And then finally, we've got great training coming up and discovery days. My business right now is twofold. Discovery days is what I love to do. I just did 2 of them this week. I've got another one tomorrow. This is me working with a team, going in, explaining all of these lessons to the leadership, helping them map out what the organization looks like, resolving the pain and problems, and then coming up with a list of things at the end of the day, the list of improvements that you can do inside your organization to become more efficient. The other side of that is me just training people to do that. And I have a lot of companies that are doing exactly that. They've sent their operations people to me. We teach them the methodology, and then we support that. And I regularly come in a couple of times a year. We call that the M4 package. I come in a couple of times a year, talk to the employees, get them jazzed up about things, and then they go back and they do some more work. We support that work, and then we come back again, revisit it, and improve upon it. If you're interested in any of that stuff, check out the website. But I want you to just think about this. I want you to think about historically all the people that have gone through your organization, all the turnover, all the churn, all the people that got fired, all the people that left, and ask yourself that question. Was it them or was it you? I'm going to tell you it's probably you. Until next time, I'm the Process Fixer.